The cross. Back post. Dubois is there. Straight back in. Oh, it's a goal! Léo Dubois.
He played the simple ball.
Dia in for Hurtado. And all-timer from Eric Hurtado. Says his corner now. The cross. Back post. Dubois is there. Straight back in. Oh, it's a goal! Léo Dubois.
Because the score against he played the simple ball.
Dia in for Hurtado. And all-timer from Eric Hurtado.
Well, hello, welcome, and thank you for joining. Welcome to Battle of the Fans. It's that show where we talk about the biggest stories making rounds in the very exciting industry called football. Well, there's a lot to talk about this particular morning. We'll take a look at the African Under-20 coming up later this particular month. We'll take a look at the preparations of the Flying Eagles and how they're preparing for the competition. We'll talk about Super Falcons of Nigeria, where they're traveling to Mexico later today to participate in an invitational tournament called the Revelations Cup Tournament, to talk about the preparation and the spirit in camp of the girls, as of course to prepare for the Women's World Cup coming up later this particular year. Well, it's 10 years down the line, 10 years since the Super Eagles of Nigeria won the African, and that was the 2013 edition of the competition. And since then, what has changed for this side? Because that was the last time that Nigeria puts their hands on the African trophy. We'll talk about the times and what has changed for the national team from 2013 to 2023. Away from all of that, to take a look at the NPFL Match Day 7 and this particular weekend. We talk about the biggest stories and of course the fixtures to be expected this weekend. One team will not be in action in the country. They've traveled away from home to, of course, Benin Republic to take on Diables North. Talk about Rivers United, defending champions of the NPFL. They take on Diables North in the CAF Confederations Cup. We talk about the boys and of course the expectation from the team so far so good. The Premier League is also not left out today. We'll take a look at Match Day 22 fixtures. Chelsea welcome West Ham later today, and of course we talk about Arsenal against Brentford, which for me is a fixture of the day. Well, these and many more from the crux of the conversation with you this particular morning. Welcome once again to Battle of the Fans. My name is Isaac, and I'm quite excited to be back on the show this morning. Before we get into all of this talk, let's take you through some news stories making rounds in the footballing world. Welcome.
Louis Gasset, his corner now. The cross. Back post. Dubois is there. Straight back in. Oh, it's a goal! Léo Dubois.
Because the score against he played the simple ball.
Dia in for Hurtado. And all-timer from Eric Hurtado. Louis Gasset, his corner now. The cross. Back post. Dubois is there. Straight back in. Oh, it's a goal! Léo Dubois.
Because the score against he played the simple ball.
Dia in for Hurtado. And all-timer from Eric Hurtado. Gasset, his corner now. The cross. Back post. Dubois is there. Straight back in. Oh, it's a goal! Léo Dubois.
Because the score against he played the simple ball.
Dia in for Hurtado. And all-timer from Eric Hurtado. here's corner now. The cross, back post, Dubois is there, straight back in. Oh, it's a goal! Léon Dubois!
Because the sport intensity played the simple ball. Dia in for Hurtado! And almost over from Eric Hurtado!
All right, thank you very much for sticking around. Still Battle of the Fans on Spectrum TV. My name is Isaac, and I'm excited to be on the show today. Let's talk about some news stories making rounds. Well, we'll begin with the Super Falcons of Nigeria, where the team will depart the country later today for the Revelation Cup tournament to be staged in Mexico. It's an invitational tournament, and of course, the story is that the competition will take place in Leon, Mexico. The tournament is billed to take place, from the 15th of February later next week to the 21st of February in the city of Leon in Mexico. Host Mexico, Nigeria, Costa Rica, and Colombia are the participating teams at the tournament, with the objective of preparing for the forthcoming FIFA Women's World Cup finals in Australia and New Zealand this particular summer. Head coach Randy Wardrum called up 23 players for the tournament, including captain Onomebi, Spain-based forward Asisa Toshola, and long-time first-choice goalkeeper Chiamaka Nadozie. Well, traveling to Egypt, the stories are the Flying Eagles have settled down in Morocco, and of course, a boast of a 21-man squad for the Flying Eagles. Well, the stories that have settled down in Morocco's capital, Casablanca, for a one-week final training ahead of the Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations starting next week Saturday in Egypt. Nigeria's first match of the campaign as they attempt an 8th continental title will be against Senegal. And of course, it will be at the Cairo International Stadium starting from 9 p.m. Egypt time. And on Sunday, 19th of February, the Flying Eagles will then face Egypt. And on Wednesday, they'll take on Mozambique on Saturday, February 25th, 2023. All four semi-finalists of this 12-team championship in Egypt to qualify to fly Africa's flag at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup Finals to be staged in Indonesia on the 28th of May or through to the 11th of June 2023. Well, talking transfers this morning, Portugal international Joe Felix has suggested that he's open to a permanent move to Chelsea this summer. Felix has made only one appearance for Chelsea thus far after being sent off on his debut against Fulham last month, while January saw a number of big-name attackers arrive in the form of Mikhailo Mudryk and Noni Madueke. Wholesale changes are expected at Stamford Bridge at the end of the season, perhaps opening up a permanent space in this squad for Joe Felix. And according to reports, the 23-year-old loanee would cost Chelsea around 70 to 80 million pounds this summer, where Chelsea will try to keep the forward long term. Well, despite reports in space suggesting that Atletico Madrid would likely demand a staggering 124 million pounds. Well, finally, still talking Chelsea, former Bayern Munich head coach Hansi Flick is being considered as a replacement for Graham Potter at Chelsea. This is according to journalist Christian Falk in a chat with Court of Side. Pressure has been mounted on Potter at Chelsea after what has been an extremely disappointing season so far for them. Just 2 wins since the return to domestic football has been worrying, although perhaps it would be judged more by the ownership following the end of the January transfer window. Chelsea signed Enzo Fernandez, Mikhailo Mudryk, and Joe Felix, amongst others, with them looking to rescue somewhat of a respectable finish for Chelsea in this particular season. We look forward to seeing how these stories turn out, and best believe that we'll be here to tell you about it every single time. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll get talking and of course have you to be a part of the conversation. Please stick around, right back in a jiffy.
It's his corner now. The cross, back post, Dubois is there, straight back in. Oh, it's a goal! Léon Dubois!
Because the sport intensity played the simple ball. Dia in for Hurtado!
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my Lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding you, not shaking.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian. Some issues on politics,
Hello, Nigeria. I remain committed.
security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
It's there. Straight back in. Oh, it's a goal! Léo Dubois!
Because the Sport Destiny played the simple ball. Dia in for Hurtado! An all-timer from Eric Hurtado!
Thank you very much for sticking around. It's still Battle of the Fans live on Spectrum Television. My name is Isaac, and I'm excited to be on the show this particular morning. I've got Billy for company this morning, and together we'll do justice to what's in the plate. Well, Billy, it's good to have you on the show today.
Yeah, certainly. Good morning, Mari. What a warm and cozy Saturday it has been.
I see how you look. You look so good, actually.
Well, I
really
just had to dig deep inside.
Were you in Canada or somewhere around the North Pole over last week?
Don't bring about the Canada conversations from last week, but all good. Weekend conversations is what we're here to do at this point in time. Quite a number of activities have gone down over the weekend. We've seen a list from FIFA, the best player from the men's side and the women's side, preparing for the World Cup also that's set to go down, the Under-20. Quite a lot of activities that are set to go down this weekend. And also not to forget, the league is back in action. And, like we would say, Champions League is back, and everyone looks happy and excited because majority of the big teams would want to keep things, a little bit warm, so as they will give, the 100% performances on Tuesday and Wednesday. All right, now it's good to be back on the show. You can always be a part of the conversation. The numbers are displayed on your screen when it's time to get to calls coming in. But I trust me, there's a lot to talk about on the show this particular morning. Well, on the short break, we showed you the sight and sound of the last time Nigeria won an African title. It was back in 2013, February 10 precisely, and it was of course the Super Eagles defeating Burkina Faso to get that particular win. Sunday Mba was the difference in that particular game, scored the only goal of the game that saw Nigeria get that African title. But the question is, what has changed from then till now? Because today is 11th of February, and yesterday made it exactly 10 years since that team led by the late coach Stephen Keshi won the African title. Well, the next African, we failed to qualify 2015, we failed to qualify for 2017 African, qualified for the 2021 African, and sadly we couldn't go too far. And of course, 2019 African, we ended third position. 2021 African, we ended at the round of 16 in that particular one. So the question is, have we made progress from 2013 till now? That should be the conversation. Well, Billy, I'll ask you first up, what do you think has changed from that team that won the African and the current crop of Super Eagles players right now? Mari Holoth, like you said, in the space of 10 years down the line, missed out from 2 of the competitions after winning the AFCON. We missed out on 2, consecutive AFCON tournament for the first time in a long while. And, after this incident happened, a whole lot of changes had to go down within the space of 2017 down to 2023. And Mari, if I would say something is, ever since that entire squad and crop of players that won the African Cup of Nations in 2013, we are still yet to recover ourselves down to the very best. Mari, check from that spot, this was the same crop of players who won the AFCON and still qualified to the round of 16 stage of the World Cup.
2014 World Cup, yeah.
And Mari, ever since that time, we've not passed the knockout stage of the World Cup. We've always been eliminated at at the group stages. The previous World Cup, 2018 in Russia, we didn't
qualify for 2022.
For Qatar, we didn't qualify. And at the end of the day, the question would have to be, what have the entire Football Federation has been doing to improve? Mari,
let's talk about something first up, because we have to put all of this in perspective. Now, do you think there's been a progress from 2013 till now, or it's been a case of a retrogression for the national team?
It's in 2 ways. There is a progress, and there is a huge retardation.
All right, let's talk about the progress first. Where could we pinpoint the progress at national team level from this 2013 till now?
The only progress that has been made would have to be in recruitment of players into the Super Eagles setup. When you check the quality of players, I mean individual brilliance. How the entire NFF officials have they've rallied around to bring in quality and brilliant set of players into the team. Then yes, I would go with this point where I would say there has been a huge massive.
Now by quality of players, I know you mean the foreign-based pros, the foreign-based players who've been able to be dragged into the national team. Some of them were particularly begged into the national team. But let's look at the squad that won the AFCON 2013. It was a proper blend of both home-based and foreign-based stars. It wasn't just, foreign-based stars all through at the national team level. It was proper blend. Looking at the squad, particular order, particularly Vincent Onyema was, the goalkeeper. But then he played for Maccabi Tel Aviv. Joseph Yobo back then was playing for Fenerbahce. Elders Nechijile, he was playing for Braga by then. Obiora Nwankwo was playing for Padova in Portugal, in Italy rather. Ife Ambrose was a defender. He was playing for Celtic. Azubike Gwekwe was playing for Warri Wolves as at then. Akpet Musa was 24, was playing for CSK Moscow. Back then, Brownie Day was playing for Olympiacos. We're talking about Emmanuel Lemonike, who was playing for Spartak Moscow. Back then, John Mikel Obi was playing for Chelsea. Same for Victor Moses, who was also playing for Chelsea in that particular squad. Ruben Gabriel was the midfielder. He was playing for Canopilas, right? Canopilas in the NPFL. Fego Ogude was playing for Valerenga in that particular time. And of course, we're talking about Godfrey Bobo now was playing for Sunshine Stars in that time. Ikechi Kuche was playing for Villarreal. Austin Ejide, the goalkeeper, was playing for Hapoel Beersheba. Ogenyo Nas was playing for Lazio. We saw the duo of Ejike Ozoyin and Sunday Mba, both playing for Enugu Rangers back then. Josiah Gable was playing for Real Betis. Joan Oshaniwa was playing for Ashdod. Kenneth Omero playing for Ado Den Haag. And Chigozie Agbim was playing for Enugu Rangers. A complete blend, right, of home-based and foreign-based players, coached by a home-based player, a home-based coach rather, right, gave us our last AFCON. Right now in the national team, we're seeing a foreign coach and loads of foreign-based players. Loads of foreign-based players in the national team.
Just two home-based
players in the national team right now. But we are yet to get to this level. So what does this speak about, our preference for a foreign-based coach and foreign-based players?
Mari, you pointing this out, boils down to a huge talk. Is it that within the stage of 2013 down to 2013 down to 2023, there hasn't been huge improvement. Mari will boil down to all that tournament. When was the last time this Nigerian won, an international tournament? Ever since 2013, let's say the under 20 down to the under 17. Mari, we have this age group tournament that has been set in place for this same set of players to grow into the Super Eagles setup. If you check quite a number of them, the players that are currently playing for the Super Eagles, they moved from this same, age group tournament. The likes of Kelechi Iheanacho down to Victor Osimhen and the rest of these players, they moved from the under 17 or the under 21. Come down to the league. Quality players, Mari, we can't deny the fact whereby we've got brilliant players, few to mention, that would walk into that Super Eagles setup in every position and cement their place. But the question would have to be, different manager has got different tactics. I've got different approach to the game. For, the former manager, late Stephen Keshi, he had his own style of the game. And we know African football needs loads of energy. But Mari, when you look at the coach that has been brought into the Super Eagles setup within 2013 down to 2023, a large number of this coach has to be foreign coaches. Foreign coaches come to this idea.
Let's talk about the foreign coach. Let's talk about the coaches. Since the post Stephen Keshi era, Samson Siasia came in at a very sad time with the national team level. They brought in Gennaro Rowe, right? Gennaro Rowe came in, had a fine time at some point, honeymoon period, but things went sour at some point. Austin Guavon came in on an interim basis, couldn't qualify Nigeria for the World Cup. We crashed out of the AFCON round of 16. Right now, they say Jose Pesero at the national team level. Would you say post Stephen Keshi era, there's been an improvement at the national team level?
Yeah, Mari, there is. When it comes to style of play, when you watch the way Stephen Keshi plays, and when you watch how football is being played right now, I would say Nigeria, play one of the most beautiful football. If you watch,
that's the thing. We play beautiful football, but what are the results to show for it, right? Because the hallmark of a good team is if you win trophies, right? If you win trophies, that means you're a good team. So, do you think, right, that at the national team level right now, that we've made improvements with the team? Because if you want to count the trophies we won from 2013 till now, we've not won any trophy.
Nothing.
Right?
It's just a bronze medal.
Bronze is not even a trophy.
It's not.
Basically, so what do you make of the post-Stephen Keshi era in the national team level?
Mari, the last time Nigeria won the AFCON before 2023 should be, I think, in the late 90s,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken,
1994.
And then within that period, we had 11-year span, before winning the African Cup of Nations. Sorry, 9-year span before winning the African Cup of Nations. And Mari, it's progress from one stage to another stage. Like I said, the Super Eagles plays beautiful football, quality football. They've got quality players in there. But the question would have to be, this crop of players that we have don't have this winning ideology of let's get ourselves a medal. Mario, when you check a look like the list of players you mentioned, Vicente Yama, down to John Mikel Obi, down to Ahmed Musa, those players won, if I'm not mistaken, should be silver in Olympic, if I'm not mistaken, before going to the AFCON tournament. And they've grown themselves up into this ideology of let's win. So the problem would have to be coming together, bringing this same set of players that we've got in the Super Eagles setup. The coach, Jose Pesero, quality, wonderful. Right. He's got his own, philosophy, style of game. Yeah. But the question would have to be, for how long will he be able to transform this quality in the pitch of play to winning trophies?
The 2013 squad and the current squad of national team players, who would you prefer?
Wow. For me, I'm someone who goes with trophies to ranking teams of, when you look at this squad playing from the group stages down to the finals, where they had to defeat Burkina Faso by a goal to nil. Also, in the semi-final stages where they had to defeat Mali by 4-1. When you look at the quality of plays from these players, they showed resilience. And when you look at the same Super Eagles players under Genetro in 2 previous AFCON, where they finished 3rd, they were just unlucky and they were unable, to take their chances. They also showed resilience. But there's one thing that crowned it up. This 2013 squad, under the hands of late Stephen Keshi, won the African Cup of Nations. Whereas this crop of players, under the hands of, Genetro, the likes of Jose Pesero, and not to forget Austin Eguavon, who led this team to the last AFCON, they did nothing except from bronze medal that they've got to their name. Like you said, bronze medal doesn't mean you won a trophy. It only showed that you participated this far to the tournament. So at this point in time, I would have to stick with the 2013 crop of players, because they were quality. They had quality in them and they did great stuff. But the question would have to be, Mari, when you even look at this 2013 crop of players, not many of them lasted long in the Super Eagles setup. But when you look at this same set of players, they've been together for 5, 4, 6 years. But the question would have to be, they are yet to transform this quality that they have in this setup, to winning trophies. Right, finally, and that's how I'll stick with 2013.
Let's talk about something, Billy. Now, the last time the national team won a trophy, 2013 at the AFCON, basically, it was a blend of foreign-based pros and home-based players. Now, how do we now say then that the home-based players are not good enough to participate in the national team?
Man, it's really tough. Yeah, it is. Because I won't sit out and say home-based players aren't good enough, because that's what actually hits deep when you say to someone that you're not good enough. It actually brings them down below their power and their ability.
That's the body language of the national team. Because
it's not about the body language. This is the word that have been thrown out, and that's why you see a huge number of these players. They don't get to put in this huge effort to turn things out. There's only few. Only a few of those players would have to work themselves up and try as much as possible to be in the Super. I know what it means when someone walks down to you and tell you you are not good enough. It totally brings you out of the picture and makes you look useless in that field. So I think the question would have to be, these players needs to be motivated. Mari, it's not that they are not good enough. Let's look at the league this season. The quality that has come out from the league. We've talked about Premier League teams, MPFL teams not being able to win away from home. But Mari, we've had over 10 away wins in the MPFL this season, and it's just match day 5. If all of these things can change, then therefore we could have a huge loads of players from the MPFL in the Super Eagles setup.
All right, well, 10th of February would always be a remarkable date in the heart of Nigeria, and it's always going to be a day of joy for Team Nigeria. That was the last time the national team won a trophy, and that was the under 23 AFCON. at, of course, defeating Burkina Faso in the particular one. Now, despite all of that, the team is yet to bring something like that to, bring back that hope. Basically, we've had different coaches from Sanson Tiasia to Get It Raw to Osne Guavon, right down to Jose Pesero, and the team is yet to win yet another trophy. But until we win a trophy, we'd always remember February 10, and of course, we remember the stars, the heroes who helped us win that trophy, particularly the likes of Sunday Mba, John Mikel Obi, Victor Moses, and every other member of that team that got us a trophy in the particular one. But let's move away from that, Bill, and talk about the NPFL returns later this weekend, match day 7. 3 games before later today. Abia Warriors against Wiki Tourist, and Nasarawa United against Kwara United. Gombe United will trade tackles with Eyimba. Bulashi continues later on Sunday. Enugu Rangers takes on Doma United, and Lubi Stars will take on Dakara. Sunshine Stars take on Niger Tornadoes. El Kanemi Warriors will take on Akwa United, and of course, Uni Stars will take on Bendel Insurance, and Remo Stars will take on Plateau United. Rivers United will be in action this weekend in the CAF Confederations Cup, so their game against Bayelsa United has been shifted to Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. Well, Billy, what do you make of match day 7? The game's expected later this weekend.
Well, it's not too many heavyweight fixtures. It's more of mid-table.
Maybe the senior men against the little boys.
Yeah, the senior men against the little boys, and you would always expect, this huge upset, most especially for those little teams, the likes of Gombe United.
Let's talk about a key fixture. Remo Stars against Plateau United. Remo Stars sits second with 12 points. Plateau United sit 5th position with 10 points. And both teams have got some somewhat identical record. Remo Stars have gotten 4 wins and 2 losses in 6 games. Plateau United have gotten 3 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses so far. So good. And the game is going to be played in Ikene. What kind of game should we expect from Remo Stars, who lost to Akwa United and Bendel Insurance?
Back-to-back losses.
Back-to-back losses for them. For Plateau United, has been here and there for them, wins and draws and losses and all of that. But what do you make of this game, and what should we expect from both sides?
Well, when you check out the head-to-head between these two sides, Remo Stars and Plateau United, they've had 4 encounters where Plateau United have won 3, and Remo Stars have picked up just 1 victory, and which was at home against them, Plateau United. Like you said, back-to-back losses for Remo Stars. This is actually, their first of the season. We've talked about how good Remo Stars could be playing away from home. But funny enough, they lost at home. Sorry, they lost away to Bendel Insurance, and also away from home to Akwa United, who they are even yet to defeat or pick out maximum, even a point. They are yet to pick out a point from, Akwa United. Their last 4-5 encounter against, Akwa United has been a loss. And, that game actually showed a whole lot. They brought in the attacking threat into that game, but there was something that the Akwa United side did. They were very, very conservative in the defense. And like I said, they need to start scoring goals for Akwa United side, and they did that perfectly well against, a very, very strong defense, which is Remo Stars. But how they were able to find their way through, quality from big ups to the coach for doing that. But for Remo Stars playing against, Plateau United, one team who has been in the NPFL for, a very, very long time. And they've cemented their place, and they've made huge statement. And for Remo Stars trying to, join the big boys and also write their name among the gladiators in the galaxies. But at this point in time for Remo Stars, it would have to be an easy victory. I won't come outside and try to shade things for them. They've got the quality, they've got absolute resilience in that team, and they will try as much as possible to turn the back-to-back losses into victories for them.
All right, for the table, looking at the table, how things stand in after match day 6 in the NPFL. Bendel Insurance, by the way, with 16 points gotten from 6 games. Remo Stars comes second, 12 points. Eyimba third in Group A, particularly with 10 points. Akwa United fourth with 10 points. Plateau United fifth with 10 points. Shooting Stars sixth with 8 points. Gombe United seventh with 7 points. Kwara United 8th with 5 points. El Kanemi Warriors, who welcome Akwa United over this weekend, have gotten 4 points. They sit 9th position. Nasarawa United have gotten just 1 point. 4 losses and the draw garnered so far after match day 6. Well, for Group B, Lobby Stars sit up with 13 points. Rivers United, defending champions, dropped down to second with 13 points. It's just a matter of goal difference separating both sides. At the end of the day, Abia Warriors come third with 12 points. It is a case of Doma United, a newly promoted side guy, and the seat fourth, 9 points. Sunshine Stars, 9 points. City Feet, Niger Tornadoes seat 6th with 8 points. Enugu Rangers 7th with 8 points. Bayoso United 8th, particularly with 5 points. Dakada 4 points, sitting 9th. And of course, Wiki Tourists have gotten just 1 point. The seats rock bottom in the table. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Super Falcons of Nigeria and how preparations are in top gear ahead of the Revelation Cup tournament. It's an invitational tournament for the Falcons as they begin preparations for the FIFA Women's World Cup coming up later this particular year. We'll talk about that and so much more after this short break. Please stick around, right back.
Louis Gasset, here's Cornet now. The cross, back post, Dubois is there, straight back in. Oh, it's a goal! Léo Dubois!
Because the sport intensity played the simple ball. Dia in for Hurtado! And all-timer from Eric Hurtado!
Yes, we're back like we never left. Battle of the Fans live on Spectrum TV. My name is Isaac, and I've got Ezekiel Billy for company this particular morning. Let's talk about the Super Falcons of Nigeria quickly. They'll depart the country later today for the Revelation Cup tournament to be staged in Leon, Mexico City. The tournament is built to hold from February 15th to 21st in the city of Leon in Mexico. Well, the competition involves 4 teams, particularly Mexico, Costa Rica, Colombia, and Nigeria. Coach Randy Wardrum, by the way, has called up 23 players for the tournament, including Captain Onongmebi, Spain-based assistant Toshola, and long-term first-choice goalkeeper Chiamaka Nadozie. Well, I'm looking at the stars of the squad. There's a lot, basically. We're looking forward to seeing how these girls perform, particularly in this tournament. Well, Billy, this should be a tune-up game, a dress rehearsal for the FIFA Women's World Cup, basically, because loads of people believe that the performance here will determine if the girls would go far at the World Cup.
Certainly, Mari. You know, the coach even himself came out, I think some days back, to say this current Super Falcon squad have got talent. Yeah, and it's same old stories that you know all of these coaches come out to tell us.
Let's talk about the man. No disrespect to the coach, but he talks, you know, a lot basically, and you understand the fact that you have to understand the expectations from the fans and all of that. But looking at Coach Randy Wardrum's time at the Super Falcons team so far, so good. What do you make of his performance? I'll give you the stats. 11 games managed so far, 3 wins, 2 draws, and a massive 6 losses, right? After 11 games, what do you make of his time at the Falcons team? And do you think that this is the man to take us to where we need to be?
Mari, he has been poor. You know, I watched him and picked up the Super Falcons in the AFCON that just ended last year. Yeah. Where South Africa had to, you know, win that one against Morocco.
Morocco, yeah.
I watched how, you know, technically unbalanced it was from the first game down to the final whistle of that competition. Even how shambolic we had to, you know, lose out and ended, you know, finished the tournament 4th. It was so sad. Yeah. You know, like everyone will come out and say we've got quality. There might be a huge excuse about the absence of Maxiza Toshola in that tournament.
Now, do you trust this man?
No, I don't. I don't from the onset.
Why do you not trust Randy Wardrum for the national team, Super Falcons team?
Mari, the easy thing for you to win as a coach for the Super Falcons is the African Cup of Nations.
You won it 9 times.
9 times. That's the most easiest thing any coach. I'm sure even you could do that. No, I'm not throwing any jabs.
You cannot trust me. You know, you don't know if I'm technically sound enough. But let's not go there. Let's not go there, actually.
For any coach, now, because of the quality of player we have.
Talking about African, because that's a conversation. Thomas Deneby won it. You know, back to Christopher Danjuma won it and all of that. But that's a story. But some people believe that football in Africa, women's football in Africa, has improved particularly. Look at the way the Moroccans played at the WAFCON, particularly. You know, the South Africans play top-class technical football.
Zambians.
You know, the Zambians played fantastically well. For, you know, the Super Falcons, maybe we're still in 2010, where we play more of physicality than technicality. But football in Africa particularly has grown towards that level where it's technical. Morocco are just a few miles away from Spain. So there's been lots of imitations from the Spanish style of play, Spanish philosophy, you know, the way the Spaniards play football particularly. But in Nigeria, it's still a case of playing the hard-hitting African football. Most people believe that that's the reason why we just could not go very far at the Women's AFCON.
And that's the huge, you know, this, you know, actually falls on the head of the coach, Waldron. It's your duty for you to make this entire players tactically sound. Mary, we'll keep on going back to, you know, talks of when you see these ladies play for their squad, you know, for their club and their country, they play very, very well. For Aziza Toshola, back-to-back hat-trick in the month of January.
Yeah, for Barcelona,
you know, for Barcelona, you'd mention a whole lot of those players playing for Atletico Madrid. But at the end of the day,
should we blame the coach for the inability of the girls to take this quality from their club side to the national team? Should the coach take the fall for that?
Definitely, Mary. Definitely. No need for us to come outside and try to say we need to give him some time. He's just had 11 games.
You know, that would in turn mean that you should also blame Pesero, you know, for the inability of the boys at the Super Eagles team to replicate the form at national team level. Look at Kelechi Iheanacho, for instance. He scores goals for, you know, Leicester City. And Demona Lookman scores goals for Atalanta. But come to the national team, they barely perform. So we should also blame Pesero for that. Billy,
we've had this talk. I think we've had this talk about, you know, Jose Pesero and the entire crop of players. You know, see, Mary, I'll keep on saying this. There are two things in place. A manager who wants to win. When you listen to his last press conference, I think one of his tweets, a manager who wants to win. But the question is, are the players ready to win? That I don't know, because have not come out to hear any of those players sound as if they are ready to win. The NFF, what are you doing in order to ensure that this man, Jose Pesero, has a quality time with the Super Falcons? Definitely, every player wants to win every game. I won't come out and pretend as if those players don't want to win. But at the end of the day, it's still, you know, the fault of the manager if he fails to bring out results. So, like you said, if Waldron is finding it difficult to, you know, to bring out quality result from the Super Falcons, then I think same blame should be shared to Jose Pesero for failing to bring out quality result from the Super Eagles.
All right, well, we're looking forward to the conversations, and we hope that the girls perform particularly very well, because their performance in Mexico would likely be a pointer to what we should expect from them when the Women's World Cup begins later this particular year. They've got games against Costa Rica, Colombia and Mexico, who are hosts, and all three teams have also qualified for the World Cup. So clearly they are facing World Cup quality teams in the preparations for the World Cup. We'll see how these things turn out, and we hope that the girls perform really well and give us some hope as we move forward to the World Cup coming up later this particular year. But by the way, the Flying Eagles have also traveled to Morocco to finalize preparations for the under-20 African, and 25 players have been called up to travel, and then 4 players will be dropped after this week to see the final 21-man list to execute the under-20 African. And of course, the top 4 teams in the competition would automatically qualify for the World Cup representing Africa, and we hope that Nigeria would be part of the top 4 teams in this competition. Well, that's it for the home scene stories, but let's travel to Europe, guys, and talk about stories from the European scene. Well, we'll begin with Thiago Silva, Billy. Before we take calls in, by the way, Thiago Silva has extended his contract to Chelsea, and that is the story till 2024. Now, this man came in from PSG as he was 36 when he came from PSG. Now, Chelsea first up broke their rule, because Chelsea as a football team would never keep you more than 2 years once you're over 30. It's been a rule over time. But Chelsea broke that rule for Thiago Silva over and over again. Right? He came through for a 1.5-year contract initially, extended for another year, and has now extended for another year, you know, with Chelsea. Talk to us about how integral this man has been for Chelsea since making that move. It was a free transfer, and many people believe that this is one of the best free transfer moves in football history.
Yeah, certainly this is one of the best, free transfer move, and it actually, paved way for both Thiago Silva and Chelsea, because this is a man who has literally won heavy trophy he needs to win, except from European glory, and he did that with Chelsea, in his first season, making that move under Frank Lampard. At
Thomas
that point,
Tuchel.
Under Frank Lampard, before Thomas Tuchel
he
took charge.
Yeah, he signed under Frank Lampard.
Before Thomas Tuchel,
but Tuchel won them the Champions League.
the Champions League. Before Thomas, Tuchel took charge of that guy who he had worked with at Paris Saint-Germain. At the end of the day, when you look at Thiago Silva, over 100 games for Chelsea, and for me, he's the best Premier League defender we have at those points in time.
The best Premier League defender.
Yes, this season. Let's forget the fact how terrible Chelsea defense has been this season. But when it comes to individual performance, he is the best. He has been beaten only 4 times in the last 21 Premier League games that have been played this season. Not even, the man they call Licha or Bucha, Lisandro Fernandez has got that style. When it comes to 1v1, when it comes to 1v1, performances for Thiago Silva, you've seen him bring out this clutch performance. He has saved Chelsea over and over and over again. But the huge problem has to be he has not got that quality, and that great partnership in defense ever since the absence of Antonio Rudiger, and that's why Chelsea has been hit a lot over time in defense.
Let's talk about 2 things, Billy. First up, this man has guaranteed longevity over time. He's been one man that has been consistent for years. Imagine at 38 playing at top level. It means a lot. It means this man is aging like fine wine, right? But here's the conversation. First up, there should be a succession plan for him, because he's not going to play till 45.
Nah.
Yes, he's 38, still performing, but there will be a time where his body starts telling on him. What should be Chelsea's plan in replacement of Thiago Silva?
Well, there has been plan. There has been plan. But the question have to be plan about bringing in players. But the question is, those players will need to follow the step of this man.
Let's look at players Chelsea have signed over time since in a bid to replace Thiago Silva.
Yeah.
There's Wesley Fofana, Benoit Badashile is coming, Kalidou Koulibaly. There's also
Trevor Chalobah,
youngster, and all of that. Now, do you think that these 4 defenders will be able to fit into the very big shoes that will be left by Thiago Silva when he finally leaves Chelsea?
Yeah, Mari. And if there's one man, if there's one man, I would pour my whole heart on and bank on him, would have to be Badashile. Because when you watch how he plays just the same way as Thiago Silva. That last ditch tackle, he makes that same tackle, that great interception, how he dictates the play, transiting from transiting from defense to attack. Just the same way Thiago knows how to spot you and give you these long balls. He does that perfectly well. And the problem has to be, watch Chelsea since the introduction of Badashile. Kept 3 consecutive clean sheets. They've not done that since 2020.
How is this man not included in Chelsea's Champions League squad?
I still don't know. I still don't. Funny enough, I'm really pained by this. Funny enough, because you can't tell me for someone who has given you top-notch performances,
110% performance
over and over again. I will keep on saying it. If Chelsea, scale through to the Champions League, or if Chelsea later have, greatness in defense this season, definitely would have to be from that man, Badashile. But at the end of the day, how he ended up not being part of that squad, someone who will guarantee you fitness, someone who will, make sure that he gives you quality performance week in and week out. I still don't understand the fact whereby, Wesley Fofana fails to be in that squad. I still don't understand the fact whereby someone who is lacking game time and someone who has not shown enough quality to the club that he will be able to transit, and give us that same quality performance from Thiago Silva. Sorry, that same quality performance that Thiago Silva has given to Chelsea in the last 2-3 seasons. But the problem has to be the coach making terrible decisions at those points in time. Like I said, he's smart, but not smart enough in making these kinds, of decisions. And with the way things are going, it will be very, very difficult, because Chelsea will be playing a Borussia Dortmund side who are yet to lose a game this season. They are yet to lose again since the start of 2023. Borussia Dortmund, Barcelona, and Union Berlin. These are the only teams who have won all of their matches. And Borussia Dortmund will definitely score at least 2 goals in every games that they are playing. And facing up against a Chelsea defense that have got fitness issues from Khalidou Koulibaly, that have got worrisome of a whole large, trunk of injury worries from Wesley Fofana, and we don't know the stability of Trevor Chalobah. But at this point in time, it's a very terrible decision made by Graham Potter. And if there's anyone to fill the shoe of Thiago Silva, it would have to be that man from Monaco, Benoit Badiashile.
All right, Towa, there's a lot to talk about, by the way, and you can always get to be a part of the conversation. The numbers are displayed right on your screen. So do want to put a call across to us right now, and we'll take them in the course of the show. We're talking about the biggest stories in the footballing world, by the way. Well, basically, conversation is who replaces Thiago Silva when he finally leaves Chelsea. That is the big question this particular morning. Well, Billy, let's talk about something. Still talking about Chelsea. The story is that Joe Felix is open to a permanent Chelsea transfer in the summer. This man has played just 1 game for Chelsea. Now, should we use that 1 game to assess his performance so far for Chelsea?
He's happy. I've watched him train.
Yeah.
Seen a huge trunk of video clips of Joao Felix training in Chelsea, in Coban, and at the end of the day, you see that this man is really happy. He's happy to be
at Chelsea.
Now, and he's happy to make huge impact.
We know Chelsea have splashed the cash to sign some really crazy players, basically, for humongous amount of money. Now, there's a story that this man will be valued around 80 to 90 million pounds, and Atletico Madrid might want to get this man for a little over. Might want to sell this man for a little over 142 million pounds. After Chelsea's signing, Chelsea will spend 600 million pounds on 17 players. We'll talk about that so far. I'll talk about that by the way. But right now, you think Chelsea should get that man permanently, Joao Felix?
Yeah, they should. And 1 man should leave. See, we'll keep on talking about Chelsea. How they spill the cash.
We'll talk about incomings and outgoings. But first up, Joao Felix stays for you, right?
Yeah, he should stay. He should stay.
If he stays, definitely a few players might have to leave Chelsea. So give me a list of 5 players you think should leave Chelsea this summer.
First, there's 1 man I've really protected and try as much as possible not to leave. But for me, it would have to be Kai Havertz. Because
Kai Havertz leaving for you.
Yeah, when you look at the same thing Joao Felix does for either side of his teams that he has played for Atletico Madrid or for the Portuguese side, it's the same thing Kai Havertz should be doing for Chelsea and for Germany. But he has failed to do that for Chelsea. And definitely he has tried in quite a number of matches for Germany.
So Kai Havertz leaving Chelsea.
Kai Havertz
give me another
for
list.
me. The next person would have to be injury worries from Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, Pulisic is already been pointed to leave Chelsea.
He should leave. He should leave. I feel for me he's one star who never shone bright at night. That's Christian Pulisic for me. And another man would have to be the wizard himself, Hakim Ziyech. He's struggling, definitely, because you would see it in his face when he plays. He struggles. When Hakim Ziyech is happy, you know he's happy. You saw him at the national team with Morocco.
He almost left Chelsea for PSG. But somehow that move never went through. But that's the story. But let's move away from all of that. There's not much time, but let's talk about Chelsea one more time. There's a story that Hansi Flick has been outlined as a potential replacement for Graham Potter. What do you make of that story? Hansi Flick is a Champions League winner with Bayern Munich. So he's won it. Has never really had a good time with the German national team, but he's proven himself in Europe. So Hansi Flick replacing Graham Potter for you makes any atom of sense?
No, because for me, if I would love to pick, I would rather go with the Spanish coach that left, Luis Enrique. But still sticking with that man. Like I said, Graham Potter has failed to to live up to quick start in life at Chelsea. The expectations, he hasn't given you enough result to show that he's ready to stay. And I think his next 2 Champions League games would have to determine if this guy is actually good enough.
Does he still need time at Chelsea?
No.
He doesn't need any more time.
He doesn't need any more time. Because if he needs time, then I think Thomas Tuchel should have been given enough time to stay. Because Tuchel, it was just the start of the season with this same set of new players coming in. And when you look at Graham Potter, Marcus Rashford has scored more goals than him in 2023.
Yeah,
he's yet to turn this entire attacking squad that he's got, that he has signed. He's yet to turn these players to deliver goods and to create number of chances. They've created less chances in games that they've played this season in 2023. He's short of ideas when it comes to his creative, his creative abilities in the pitch of play. But at the end of the day, when you look at the manager like Hansi Flick, he's been out of job for a while. So I don't know, maybe he has been cooking something behind the scene. But if there is someone who would give you instant result, and there's someone who has this ideology, since you want to win the Champions League, why not go for one man who has done it 3 times in a row, Zinedine Zidane, because he's out of job. And definitely, if there is he's not going to get the French national team job, because Didier Deschamps has retained his place in that same setup. By the end of the day, Thomas Tuchel is out of the picture.
So Zidane over Hansi Flick for you?
Definitely, I'll have to pick Zidane over Hansi Flick.
All right, we'll take a short break. When we come back, and we'll talk about the Premier League returns later this weekend. Chelsea against West Ham, among other interesting, massive fixtures expected later this weekend. We'll also take your calls as much as possible, and of course talk a lot more, but that'll be after the short time. Please stick around. I'll be right back.
It's his corner now. The cross, back post, Dubois is there, straight back in. Oh, it's a goal! Léon Dubois!
Played the simple ball. Dia in for her timer. Timer from Aaron Hurtado.
All right, so thank you very much for sticking around to Battle of the Fans live on Spectrum TV. My name is Isaac, and I'm excited to be on the show. I've got Ezekiel Billy for company, and together we're talking about the big stories making rounds in the footballing world. Well, you can always get to be a huge part of the conversation. The numbers will be displayed right on your screen, so do you want to put a call across to us, and we'll take them in the course of the show today. Well, Billy, Chelsea take on West Ham United in what should be a London derby later today. Well, for West Ham, just struggling. In the last 3 Premier League seasons, after 21 games, West Ham United are currently sitting 17th, and that's the worst after 21 games in the last 3 seasons for them. Well, what's changed? David Moyes came in, had a slow start to life at some point, was really good for the team, almost took them to European competition, took them to the Europa League, at some points. But this season, things have gone from bad to worse. What has changed for West Ham, and why are they where they are right now?
A whole lot. Improvement from other Premier League teams, that you can, take out of the picture.
Definitely.
Because I feel if other Premier League teams in which they faced have still remained at the same level where they are 2 seasons back, Leicester would, definitely be, let's say, still be fighting for, let's say, the top 7 or top 8 teams in the English Premier League. But for David Moyes, he's got this huge issues with in his 4th season in clubs. He struggled to keep up with stabilities and a whole lot of pace. I think for David Moyes, who will be aiming to win his 250 Premier League games as a manager in the English Premier League. Only Sir Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger has managed to win over 250 Premier League matches in that period of time. I know this is a man who has, his entire coaching career has been in the English Premier League.
Yeah, he traveled to Sociedad. Never had a good time as a coach there. Let's talk about the game against Chelsea. Well, for Chelsea, it's not also been uhuru for them, right? It's been here and there for Chelsea. As a matter of fact, Chelsea haven't won an away game since October last year. And that shows you how poor Chelsea have been on the road. 7 away games winless for Chelsea. Well, after signing 17 players, right, you expect them to be a lot better than the way they started the season so far. But what should we expect from Chelsea against West Ham later today?
Last season they scored 39 away goals, and just this season they've scored only 9 away goals. In last 11 last game. And you question yourself and say, why is this happening when you've got you know, loads of players. You've made
big players.
You've made 66 changes to the starting lineup, more than any team in Europe.
Now, let's talk about that, Billy. That's a conversation.
Yeah.
£600 million spent on 17 players. What is Chelsea's best 11? Tell me.
My Chelsea best 11 is, you know, for me, the only player who would guarantee you, you know, who would guarantee.
Chelsea would have an 11.
They don't have
best 11.
They only have best 2.
Which is
Kepa and Thiago Silva.
Every other player is subject to.
Every other player is, you know, player is actually subjected to external forces acting upon them.
That's very crazy. Talking about team news, West Ham United defender Siloke is a major doubt to face Chelsea because of a hamstring problem. Danny Ings may again be a substitute as he continues to recover from a knee problem for Chelsea. Good news for the Chelsea fans, Joao Felix is back. Should be in contention to play today, completing his 3-match ban, getting a red card. Well, for Mateo Kovacic, Wesley Fofana, Denis Zakaria, Alor set to return later today. Raheem Sterling could miss out to the knee problem, and that's the story from there. Chelsea have kept a clean sheet in their last 3 games, but here's the story: they have not also scored. Billy, so for West Ham United, not entirely the best of teams right now, but you think Chelsea can go to the London Stadium and get 3 points?
No, it will be very, very difficult. You know, they are the only team who have won 4 times in London Stadium, and alongside Southampton, any other team have, you know, defeated West Ham at home 4 times in a bounce. But at the end of the day, when you look at Chelsea terrible performances playing away from home, you know, you have to put a huge question mark on their performances today. Yes, there would actually be a huge change when you look at the last 20 minutes of that game, you know, the involvement from the players. Will the players be able to pick up from the last 20 minutes of their match against Fulham and bring in that transition in the first minute of West Ham games down to the final 19 minutes? Yes, Joao Felix will come into the setup. We'll bring in a whole lot of pressure in the attack line. And, you know, there's been a whole lot of sloppiness from Mason Mount and Kai Havertz, who will be, and for me, who has been one of Chelsea's, you know, terrible signings in recent times. But at the end of the day, it boils down to, you know, the ideology of the coach.
Let's talk about the attack lineup. Basically, Kai Havertz has failed to sparkle. And then in the game against Fulham, we saw David Datro Fofana come in, almost got a goal for Chelsea. Had a fantastic opportunity, but just could not put the ball at the onion bag. Now, there are concerns and debates about who should start in the attack for Chelsea. So I'd ask you, there are 3 options. There's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, there is David Datro Fofana, and there is, of course, Kai Havertz. Who starts in the attack for Chelsea if you were Graham Potter?
Well, if I'm Graham Potter, I would have to go with Fofana. Not because
David Datro Fofana.
Yeah, not because he gave out a brilliant last 20 minutes performances against Fulham, but, you know, for the reason whereby Chelsea will be playing in the UEFA Champions League against Borussia Dortmund on Wednesday, and Fofana is not in that squad. Kai Havertz is in that squad. You know, why not keep in your Kai Havertz, who has been terrible all season, to go and show, you know,
his class
of
in the Champions League.
In the Champions League.
Maybe the Premier League is a little too difficult for him.
Then the Champions League is a little bit. So why not keep in for the Champions League and then, you know, make use of Fofana starting? For me, Aubameyang has been terrible since coming to Chelsea. His link-up play with the entire squad has been awful. So I don't see a reason why he should be starting. You need to start working with the young lads, the signings you've brought in.
The ones for the future.
And start bringing out result. Let go of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. You need to start working with the young lads that is in the picture. And at those points in time, you need to start getting results as a manager. Let's forget the fact that he has been given a 5-year contract and Chelsea would like to stick with him. And Chelsea will want to change the whole ideology of sacking coach. But if they are not giving the result, you'd have to be shown the exit door.
All right. Well, that's one side. Let's talk about another game. It's between Arsenal and Brentford. Now, here's the story. Brentford have lost just one home game this season, and that was against Arsenal in September. Well, Arsenal defeated them by 3-0, and that has been the only home game Brentford have lost this season. Well, both sides face off later today at the Emirates Stadium, and Arsenal have been quite fantastic looking at the performance so far. Before we talk about the performance and, of course, what you expect later today, let's talk about team news. Arsenal remain without Gabriel Jesus and Mohamed El-Neni. This game comes too soon for Smith Rowe, who's recovering from a thigh problem. Reece Nelson, who's not played for the team since November because of a hamstring problem, has resumed training, but is not ready to return for Arsenal. For Brentford, Pontus Janssen, Thomas Strakosha, and Frank Onyeka are all unavailable for Brentford. Well, Billy, Brentford sit in 7th with 33 points. Here's a tricky thing. They've got more points than Fulham, Chelsea, and Liverpool this particular season. The face-off with table toppers Arsenal, who lost to Everton in the last time out. Yeah. What should we expect in this kind of game?
Well, for me, I would have to. It will definitely be a very, very difficult game. You know, for Arsenal, they'll be aiming to win another London derby. You know, that's set to go down this weekend for Arsenal at this point in time. And then when you look at all of the stats that goes behind for Arsenal, they've lost their last two games in all competition, losing to Manchester City, losing to a resurgent Everton, and you're playing against a Brentford side who's got no respect for clubs in the Premier League this season. They defeated Manchester United at the start of the season. Almost made Eric Ten Hag look so terrible as a coach. But at the end of the day, we've seen the transition from Brentford from last season down to this point in time.
They look better now.
They look better as a team.
Playing better
despite little addition. And we've seen, even in the absence of Ivan Toney not scoring, Brian Mbeumo is there to get to the goals.
Definitely.
And the question would have to be for Arsenal, in their last 15 games, they've conceded just 1 goal from corners. And in their last 2 games, they've conceded 2 goals from corners. And we know Brentford as a team who knows how to, make good use of set pieces.
Set pieces, yeah.
And this would definitely be one thing they will want to use against the Arsenal side. We saw how they were ball watching against Everton, failing to clear their lines. Ramsdale looks confused if he should have come out to get the ball. For the defender, William Saliba and Gabriel, they failed to, made huge intercept on that ball. But at the end of the day, Everton had to take all of the glory. And they did their job diligently well. And for Brentford, we know that they could keep things very, very clean at the back. They got one of, the best defense for a middle team, a middle table team.
Talking about defense particularly, well, they are vying to keep 4 consecutive clean sheets in the Premier League for the first time in their history. Let's talk about one man that will be aiming to scatter that record later today, Edin Ketia. He scored 13 goals in his last 13 starts in the Emirates Stadium for Arsenal, across all competitions. So far, so good. Now, talk to us about how key this man has been for Arsenal since the injury of Gabriel Jesus.
Well, definitely, I think he's tapping out from the 14 jersey that Thierry Henry wore.
Oh, nice.
Trying to live up to the level where the former Arsenal player, who is currently a legend in that club, Henry, and he has been decent, no doubt. He has been decent. His League Cup play, how he drops down to get the balls, how he's able to shield his defense and how he's able to shield the attack and receive all of those balls. And the major priority of a striker is to score goals, and he has been scoring goals in recent weeks in the absence of Gabriel Jesus, who before going out injured struggled to score goals over time.
Compared to Gabriel Jesus, is Edin Ketia a better striker?
Edin Ketia is just having his first full season in the English Premier League. So if we are to go by the number of games that have been played, definitely I'll have to tilt towards Nketiah, because in the absence of Gabriel Jesus, who has scored just 5 goals and 5 goals, 4 assists or 6 assists in the English Premier League.
Well, putting both of them side by side, who do you think has been more integral for Arsenal? Who do you think will be integral for Arsenal going forward?
It will have to be Nketiah. It would have to be Nketiah.
So Gabriel Jesus sits on the bench for you?
No, because notice something from this Arsenal squad. Martinelli has been terrible. And
really?
In recent times, when it comes to his conversion rate and when it comes to getting in those, nick passes, majority of the works has been coming from the likes of Bukayo Saka and Odegaard, who has tried to keep things
clean. Yeah, I think we have a call. Hello, welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Welcome. Your name and your location.
My name is Shola. I'm calling from Ilorin Kwara State.
Welcome, Shola. How is Kwara State today?
Fine. It's nice. This morning is very, very okay.
All right. Go ahead. Talk to us.
And good work to the analysts in the studio. I think you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
I just want to ask about the latest about him, because I heard the news this morning that he spoke to the coach, Eric Ten Hag, recently.
Yeah.
So is he going to come back very soon?
Well, Shola, as we speak to you, the latest is what we've heard to you that he's been talking to Eric Ten Hag since the day those charges were dropped a little over last week, but there's no assurance that he's going to come back to the United squad yet. But once anything happens, be sure that we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you very much. I think United will win this weekend now, at least. I'm a United fan.
All right. We'll talk about your United and say me hi to the baby.
Okay,
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shola.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too. All right. Let's move on from us now. I think Shola has taken us to Manchester United. Well, United play later on Sunday, particularly a game that should be quite interesting in all quarters. They take on Leeds. Well, the Leeds team that they struggled against just a couple of days ago, they considered 2 in less than how many minutes and then had to claw themselves back into getting a draw. 2-2 it ended in that game. Leeds are yet to have a manager, but somehow United struggled in that game. Talk to us about that game and why did United struggle that much in that game against Leeds?
Well, I think they considered their first goal in early minute.
Just the first minute. Wilfred Gnonto, that youngster is clearly a fantastic player.
Definitely, and I think a close friend, not really close friend, a friend of mine went up to Twitter and tweeted something, and that was almost he was like, Gnonto is way better off than Mason Mount, and I was like,
well, let's not. I think that's the conversation we should have.
I was like, it's just his first season.
But Gnonto is a fine youngster.
This season, yes, Mason Mount has been awful, but you can't. If Mason Mount,
loads of quality
if
over time.
It was a Mason Mount of 2-3 seasons at Chelsea, I don't think he should have come out and said that.
Let's stick
By
to
the end of the day, for Manchester United against Leeds United on Wednesday, I saw how they were celebrating that draw as if they've won something huge.
Did Manchester United have any business conceding 2 goals against Leeds United?
No. That's even the funny part. No. I at that point in time when I was watching the game, I knew they would come back because they've got the players, they've got the attacking strength. That they would surely show a huge resilience. That man Marcus Rashford, 12 goals in his last 14 games for Manchester United. Definitely Bruno Fernandes, who is hiding to score his 100th goal as a player. Definitely these are the crop of players you've got, and to turn things around. But at the end of the day, this shows the absence of Casemiro. We would all go back to situations whereby Manchester United they've got issues with their defense, but they've done one thing: they've brought in a quality holding midfielder to shake things up. And in his absence,
while we're talking about midfielders, Billy, there's something you're not talking about: the attacking force. Now that game against Leeds United, it was when Wout Weghorst was taken off. Marcus Rashford came in, and the rest of them, Jadon Sancho and the rest, that United had an attacking verve. Now, talk to us about Wout Weghorst and what kind of player he is, because so many people believe that he's slowing down the game for United. He gives United nothing going forward, but he just sits there, waits for everybody else to come and hustle the ball for him to score. And he's not even that prolific. So talk to us about Wout Weghorst and if you think he should start later tomorrow for United again.
No, he shouldn't. He shouldn't. I think he's when you talk, say you go market, go buy wrong ingredients to take cook soup. I think that's what is happening to Manchester United at this point in time.
For Wout
Weghorst, they went to the transfer market to buy the wrong ingredient to finish up whatever Eric Ten Hag is cooking for Manchester United at this point in time. Because look at Weghorst, where he playing for Burnley. Just 2 goals in his last 20 or 18 to 20 Premier League appearances.
So what was the attraction?
I think it's
for signing him.
I think it's just the little performances he gave
at the World
against
Cup.
Argentina. Just that quick spark of 10-minute performances that he gave. And at the end of the day, ever since that point in time to this, I think definitely this brings us to the point whereby I would have to say the Premier League is not for all players, because this is the same man who has scored 16 goals in his last 18 games.
That's the Eredivisie.
Was it no?
In Besiktas in Turkey.
In Turkey, 16 goals in his last 18 games in Turkey. So this boils down to not every player are Premier League quality.
All right,
that's why Manchester United suffered from that against Leeds United.
Let's talk about team news. Leeds United will assess the trio of Liam Cooper, Mark Roca, and Luis Sinisterra ahead of United's visit to Ellen Road. Pascal Skrujc is definitely out of this game. For United, Ten Hag expects to remain without Anthony Martial, Scott McTominay, and Anthony. For defender, Aaron Wan-Bissaka returns from illness. Well, Casemiro serves his second of his 3-match ban after getting a red card against Crystal Palace from over the weekend. Well, the stats are there. Well, Leeds United shocked Manchester United on Wednesday, on Thursday, thereabout. What should we expect from Leeds against United again later tomorrow? I
think it might be this time might be an electric shock. The last one was just a light shocker. This one might be, because listening to the manager of that side, he came out to say he just wants to attack. I think majority that seems to be the huge philosophy of Leeds United.
For the team, they
score goals. The last manager scored 63 goals and conceded, about 50 goals also. They score goals and they concede. That has been the problem. And from Manchester United, they've not kept clean sheet in their last 4 or 5, games in all competitions, or sorry, in the Premier League. They've not kept clean sheet in the last 4 games in the Premier League. And at this point in time, facing a lead side who knows how to score goals, who are very, very dangerous in attack. At this point in time, I think United will need to be very, very decent from defense to attack if they stand a chance to win anything out of this game.
But of course, the game comes up later tomorrow at the Ellen Road. We'll take you through those games, and on Monday morning when we come back for Sports Central, we'll tell you about these games and how things went down. But let's talk about one more team, Liverpool-Everton, right? It's a case of 2 struggling teams, one struggling seriously, the other struggling strugglingly. I don't know if there's English like that particularly, but Liverpool against Everton, what kind of game should we expect? First up, Klopp has struggled with Liverpool so far, and he even came out to say he doesn't know what's happening with the team and all of that. But for Everton, got a new coach, defeated Arsenal just over last weekend and all of that. But what should we expect from both sides later? The game comes up on Monday, February 13th.
Mary, funny enough, this is a derby.
It's a Merseyside
derby, and this is one. I think this is one of the most interesting derbies whereby form doesn't come into the picture.
Yeah, for this particular installment of the derby,
most especially Liverpool against Everton. Everton don't give huge respect to Liverpool's current form. They go all out there and give you this classic performances. And for Liverpool has been terrible. Liverpool has been terrible. They've been talks about, is it the absence of, is it huge numbers of injuries? No. I think for Liverpool, there's a whole lot of issues.
What do you think is Liverpool's biggest problem this season?
Liverpool's biggest problem for me would have to be their new signings have failed to live up to expectations. They've failed to continue from where the tired legs
What if it's also a case of going to the market and getting the wrong ingredient?
And therefore would have to say not every player is a Premier League quality.
All right, well, that's the story from there. Let's take you through the full list of games expected in Premier League later this weekend. West Ham take on Chelsea by 1:30. Arsenal against Brentford. And of course, Crystal Palace will take on Brighton. Fulham against Nottingham Forest. Leicester City will take on Tottenham Hotspur. Southampton takes on Wolverhampton Wanderers. And Bournemouth will take on Newcastle. Action continues later on Sunday. Leeds against Manchester United. Manchester City against Aston Villa. And of course, on Monday, Liverpool will take on Everton. Well, next week, Wednesday, we're going to see Arsenal against Manchester City. And that should be one hell of a fixture, Billy. Well, we'll have barely 2 minutes to the end of the show today. Yeah. But Arsenal City next week, Wednesday. What a game is going to be.
Yeah, definitely. Whoever wins, Arsenal wins. Then therefore, for me, Arsenal wins the Premier League.
If City wins. What about if City wins?
City wins, then City
win the Premier League.
Might win the Premier League.
Really?
Yeah, City wins. City might win the Premier League because say if Arsenal will definitely have.
So if City wins that game, for instance, maybe after this weekend, maybe if Arsenal City win this weekend, both teams will still be celebrated by 5 points, and then City wins Arsenal on Wednesday.
Currently, it's 5 points.
Yeah. So if City win Aston Villa later tomorrow, then Arsenal will defeat Brentford. It's still going to be 5 points. Right, and then next week Wednesday,
City wins 2 points.
2 points. So that throws open the title race. Well, let's see how these things turn out. But that's it for the show today. Thank you very much for sticking around. Thank you, Billy. Yeah. It's a pleasure always having you around. Thank you very much. Do want to enjoy the rest of the day's broadcast. We'll be back again next week, Saturday, to talk about the big stories in this very exciting industry called football. Thank you for being a huge part of the show. The conversation continues on social media. Well, on Twitter, my name is, on Facebook, it's Isaac. On Twitter, it's MR_Marizona. That's Mr. Marizona. So just go there. Just follow me, and of course, let's connect as much as possible. Thank you very much. And well, he's Billy, Ezekiel Billy, right?
Yeah.
On Twitter.
All social media platforms.
Ezekiel Billy. All right. So that's it.
Spelled A-E.
A-E.
Yeah, Ezekiel then.
So
Billy.
A before the Ezekiel.
Yeah.
Ezekiel. That's interesting. But that's it for the show. Thank you very much. My name is Isaac, and have Billy for company. And together, we're saying ciao, ciao.
Here's Cornet now. The cross. Back post. Dubois is there. Straight back in. Oh, it's a